This film came to me several years back, and the minute I read the script, I was kind of bowled over. You know, I have studied Hamlet. I am a big fan of Shakespeare, but this was such a sort of tongue-in-cheek, delicious take on what we understand this story to be from the point of view of Ophelia. This is a revisionist version of Shakespeare's beloved work, and in kind of re-skewing the narrative axis, we kind of experience Ophelia's story in a different way. So she now has much more agency in the story. She has, you know, much more control over her life to a certain extent. We still experience the same narrative of Hamlet, but we're inside her story in a different way. In this current environment where women are both in front and behind the camera in a new, more empowered way, I think we want to see women who are complex and flawed and human, and in this version of Hamlet we see Ophelia in a different way. She's no longer just a victim, a tragic victim. We see her take currency and agency in her life, which I think is really fresh. So from a filmmaking perspective and as a woman, this story is so exciting to me. It's an opportunity to reach a younger audience with this film, as well as an audience that may know and love Shakespeare. What we've tried to present here is an epic, big screen, entertaining vision of what Hamlet could have been like if it was re-experienced through Ophelia's perspective. This is a film that has scale, and as a filmmaker, it's such an honour to work in a way in which everyone can bring the best of their work to the table. I wanted the film to feel like it had its own aesthetic and an epic canvas in which to stage this story, a story essentially through the eyes of the women. In this version is lowborn. She becomes selected by Queen Gertrude, played by Naomi Watts, to become a handmaiden and part of this sort of inner circle of feminine beauty. Falls in love with her son Hamlet, and this becomes a game of kind of cat and mouse where she tries to work out how to navigate through the politics of court hierarchy and how to be the person that she wants to be within the world she lives in. The film explores, I guess, her roller coaster ride as she's sort of torn between her loyalty for Queen Gertrude and her love for Hamlet, and the tyranny of the reign of Claudius, who's Hamlet's uncle, and how the kingdom is on the brink of war. Daisy has such an innate strength about her. She has such a contemporary feel. Her essence is full of grit and resilience, which is something that's so essential when playing a role which is traditionally viewed as very fragile. Ophelia is a tragic character in the original Hamlet. I think she had like 37 lines in the original play, and is often depicted in the famous paintings as sort of dying on the water. I think it's a really nice balance of the historical, or the Shakespearean and the contemporary. Queen Gertrude is played by the wonderful Naomi Watts, and she also plays another character in the film as well. And Queen Gertrude is in many ways lonely and depressed and quite shamed by the life she lives, and in the world of that court she doesn't have a lot of currency, or her opinion or her voice is not really heard. So she is quite a tragic character, but the kind of complexity that Naomi brings to the role is really, I think, quite touching. You know, I think she looks at Queen Gertrude and brings another dimension to this role. George Mackay plays Hamlet in the film, and George is such a wonderful actor. I just think he is just superb. He has so much complexity, passion, dedication. He really just drills deep into the material. He's so unafraid of trying things. George and Daisy have such a wonderful chemistry. It was really important in the film that we see this love story unfold. She sees something different in Hamlet and he sees something different in her. We shot Ophelia on location and in studio in Czech Republic, mainly in Prague. We filmed in a lot of incredible high Gothic castles and locations. And Prague has such a magical history and these beautiful sort of magical castles. I had such a wonderful crew on this film and heads of department, comrades that really just gave so much to make this film. My cinematographer, Denson Baker, we worked very closely with Academy Award nominated Dave Warren, who was our production designer. We had Academy Award winner Alessandro Bertolazzi's key hair and makeup, Massimo Cantini, who is our costume designer, and his wonderful, passionate Italian crew. And we also had Academy Award winner Stephen Price, who was our composer. Ophelia is a mythic-infused love story that explores the journey of Ophelia, played by Daisy Ridley, who's a handmaiden to Queen Gertrude, played by Naomi Watts, and the love that kindles between Ophelia and Queen Gertrude's son, Hamlet, Prince Hamlet, played by George Mackay. And the kingdom is on the verge of war and under the tyranny of Hamlet's uncle, Claudius, who's stolen his throne. And the story sort of explores how Ophelia navigates her relationships, how she works her way through the kind of the underbelly of the secrets and lies of this kingdom, and ultimately has to choose what she wants out of her life.
I'm Daniel Bopker. I'm one of the producers on Ophelia, and I guess as far as the background of the project, I'd first read the young adult novel, I guess like a month before it was published, and immediately kind of fell in love with the idea of telling the story of Hamlet through Ophelia's eyes. And I just thought the conceit of Ophelia as a Spitfire was really seductive, and I thought that I guess retelling Hamlet with a slant of female empowerment might be a way to make it more relevant and fresh for a contemporary audience. We wanted this to be something that was a really stark, cool take on Hamlet, because you see the events that you've always known and appreciated through a new perspective, but also just the idea that maybe people who would sometimes feel like Shakespeare or Hamlet wasn't for them will be brought into this story by a protagonist who is relatable and going through the same things every young person goes through, that figures out a way to find their own voice and determine their own fate. I think those are kind of like the themes that we thought really could resonate beyond just the fact that it's a great, Shakespeare tale, but that it can ground it in a way that could really, speak to, a wide audience. She's got a real bold determination to have the work have a singular voice that really, can connect with an audience in a unique way. You want a character with a voice that feels unique from other movies and other characters that you've grown to love, but you also want to be able to relate to the journey of the protagonist, I think, in this kind of movie. And Claire really knew how to mine that kind of performance from our lead actress, which is great. Yeah, we were talking about top actresses for Ophelia, and I guess this probably wasn't more than a month or two after Daisy had gotten tons of spotlight for her work in Star Wars, but she just felt perfect for the part. I think the challenge of retelling Hamlet is that there's been so many great adaptations that come before us, but we felt like the chance to tell the story of the tragic lover who's always been a mystery and no one's really known that much about her was unique, and I think that's what grabbed Daisy too right away. So we really needed the perfect cast and a bunch of key roles, and so it was a blessing that Daisy emerged just when she did, and was just super passionate and had all the right instincts about the role. After Daisy was cast as the lead last spring, we really moved on to focus on the Queen, and we felt like in order to get someone great, it might be interesting to combine the Queen role with the role of Mathilde, who's kind of the healer who lives in the woods and is Queen Gertrude's sister. And I guess it was the screenwriter Sammy Chellis who had a great idea of, hey, why don't we make the same actress play both roles and have it be that they're mirror characters of each other. And that just turned into a very fast dialogue with Naomi Watts, who's always had great taste. And my partner and I were lucky enough to have met and worked with Naomi on a couple of films in the past, and she just immediately got the role. It was just like with Daisy, she read it, and I think in the course of maybe a week at the most, really responded to the challenge of playing both characters. We also are very, very blessed as far as getting Clive Owen to play Claudius, because Clive really is great in anything he does, but I feel like he made Claudius a character that was multi-dimensional. The Czech Republic probably has better castles and landscapes for this kind of story than any country out there. Prague is terrific. It really, I don't think we could have got the kind of, lush, high quality production that we got here anywhere else. My hope is that the audience will feel like, this is an exciting adaptation of Hamlet because it really captures the great, dramas and scenes that people have celebrated for centuries in the different renditions of Hamlet, both on stage and on the big screen. But that hopefully this has a little bit of an extra spirit to it, just by the fact that it's through the eyes of the tragic lover, and it's through the eyes of, a young woman who, sees Hamlet caught up in madness and betrayal and violence and vengeance and all those things that, can be relevant to lots of stories today. But you have a young woman who chooses to determine her own fate, and that even though Hamlet's caught up in, retribution and, the violence around him, you have a protagonist like Ophelia who realizes that maybe she should do what's best for herself. And I think that's cool. I just think that's really exciting.
I'm Dave Warren, I'm the production designer on Ophelia. No, seriously, Elsinore's kind of like a bolt together of a lot of different locations we found over here. I think the main one, castle-wise, is probably Chivoklat, which kind of gave us the basis for the look of a lot of the interior sets. We have shot at Pernstein, which was for the exterior approach, and there's a number of other very, very beautiful locations which we've got, which give you other bits of interior. And then I suppose the job of the stage set, in a way, as well as being of itself a great hall and rooms, is also to try and connect the disparate looks together, so you feel that you're flowing from one interior to another, and the patina and the detail kind of sells to the audience that you are in one big place. And Elsinore is one big place, very big place actually. But I think we ended up with a lot of colour in the film. I think it's interesting that the sort of like the decision of the director from early on was that we wouldn't have primaries, apart from maybe in the natural world, because I think sometimes flowers, for instance, the blue of the sky, the green of the trees, that's kind of unavoidable. But in our world, the world that we're able to create and able to doctor ourselves, I think right from the beginning, everything had to be slightly off the clock. So it was always putting a bit of blue into the red and putting a bit of, turquoise rather than pure blue. And I think that's helped it a lot, because it gives it a more contemporary feel as well, because some of the colours are sort of slightly, I think artificial is the wrong word, but they're kind of a little bit out of period, and that's not a bad thing. When Ophelia first comes to Elsinore when she's a kid, and what are the things? She should be awestruck, it should be foreboding, it's vast, it's like nowhere she's ever seen before, it's incredibly busy. But I think at the beginning, it was very much the idea that Gertrude is that just at that period, her marriage is still happy, she's married to a guy she loves, the kingdom is very vibrant, and everybody's kind of having a good time, they're all eating a lot of stuff, drinking a lot of stuff. So there was plenty of that to do, and the place is busy in a good way. And I think generally, as the story flows along, there's this feeling that the realm is declining, which of course hits a fulcrum when Hamlet Senior dies and Claudius takes over. And then we really had to kind of like change this castle from somewhere exciting, but still awe-inspiring in its scale and in its busyness. It had to take on a slightly different character. And we did that just in terms of, a lot of it was like, the labour of the castle. Where are all the people gone now, and what are they wearing? And everything is just slightly down. The colour has been leached out of it a little bit. You know, we did that a little bit in the flowers, in the heraldry, in the banners, just very subtly changing colours to sort of feel like the character of the castle has changed.
I play Claudius, who's not a good guy. You know, Claudius is the character that drives Hamlet and you know, and the story of Hamlet and Ophelia. I wanted to get involved with the project because I thought it was a very cool idea to take such a familiar, great Shakespeare play and spin it and have a look at it from a fresh perspective and a female perspective. And it's also directed by Claire, who you know, a female, which I thought was a very cool idea. The combination of that. The film also stars two people that I've worked with before, who I got on great with and really rate. Naomi Watts is Gertrude, and George Mackay plays Hamlet, and so I was very keen to get involved. It was a great choice to play this. It was very, very, you know, well cast, and you know, she's a real strong actress with a lot of chops, and she felt like it. She was perfectly cast in that part, and as I say, with Naomi and George, they were two very big reasons why I wanted to do the film, because I worked with both of them and I rate them both very highly. George, I did a film with him, a film in Australia with Scott Hicks called The Boys Are Back a number of years ago, and I thought he was the best young British actor I'd come across in a long time, and I still think that. You know, I think he is, you know, and I think he has got a huge career ahead of him. I think he's only just beginning, really, because I think he's the real deal. I'm very glad to be, you know, part of a film that, you know, is helmed by a female. And I've seen her work, and she's a very strong director with a very clear vision, and this has been a passion project of hers for a number of years, and I was very glad to be a part of it. You look at the story of Hamlet and change the driving perspective, which is now Ophelia's. It's very familiar in lots of ways, but completely original, really, because you're now, the driving force is a completely different energy, and you get a new take and a new look. And it's a very, very valid thing to do with a story that's so well known. We shot it in Prague, which I've shot there many times, and is the perfect place to shoot a thing like this. The beauty of Prague is that you can literally go half an hour in any direction out of the centre, and you are hitting the most epic castles and vistas, and you know, and it's amazing for a film like this to, you know, because you've got all these real locations, and there was you know, some brilliant sets were built. There was a huge hall that we did some of the big scenes in, and it was very beautifully done. What's obviously, you know, the big difference of this story, rather than doing, you know, the story of Hamlet, is that it's Ophelia's perspective, and that's a big thing, and it's great and refreshing to see a tale like this told from a woman's perspective and a girl's perspective, and directed by a female, so that whole sensibility is different. And I think, you know, it's a fresh take on a classic story, and a very valid fresh take. So I think it's an exciting sort of reinvigorating of a story that a lot of people will know, but not like this.
I think it has such an emotional pull because of the female characters are given so much life, especially in this story, that you kind of feel it. I think with Hamlet it becomes so intellectual, and there's so much testosterone kind of being thrown around. I think with the female characters it kind of gives this grounded nature to it that is so lovely to see, and I'm so excited to kind of tell a new story, and it's kind of the backstory of what was happening behind the scenes in Hamlet and in their characters, so it's lovely. I think what Claire's kind of brought to it has been so exciting, because there's things that I've never thought about the character and even Hamlet himself. So it's been so exciting, even taking away the female side of it. She's such a brilliant director to work with. It's been such a lovely opportunity to not only work with her, but to get to know her as well and understand her take on the story. I said because it's been done, over history so many times, and I kind of wanted to bring a new light to him. He's always seen as an intellect, but I wanted to bring the playful side between him and Hamlet, and that's what George and I have talked about constantly with Claire, in terms of bringing a life to them, that they're really people that have these titles, and there is a gap between us in terms of social structure, but between us we're just best friends, and we don't see that until late as the film goes on. We see the status kind of come into question. So it's been really lovely to kind of go on a journey and say this is a whole new character that no one's ever played before. So it's been really great, because there is this pressure of all of you are playing iconic characters. So it's been great to kind of get away from that and say, what is our journey in the story? It makes your job so easy when someone comes in like that and just kind of blows you away. I think she's unbelievably gifted, and I think she's brought such a soft, heartbreaking nature to the character, where I think when you read Hamlet, it's kind of Ophelia's kind of brushed over. So to bring life to a character that, is kind of seen as just a little stem in the story, to bring such life to it has been quite remarkable on her part. And it's shooting scenes with her and George have been so simple, because it's been so clear about what I need to do to help them get to where they need to get to. As an actor, it's almost the ultimate challenge to bring life to people that are so iconic, and when you read it, it kind of just comes off the tongue so easily, in terms of, I think Sammy did such a beautiful job of writing the script, and Claire together. So it's as an actor, it's been the ultimate challenge, but it's so easy to kind of go home and do your homework, because we're excited to shoot every scene.
I think, obviously, like, there's the Hamlet, Shakespeare's Hamlet. It's a different role, and I think when I spoke to Claire about it, about when we were sort of doing the auditions and everything, she was saying it's best to think of this as a new story, to kind of relieve yourself of any of the baggage that might be from Shakespeare's play, because this is a new narrative. This is a created narrative. It's different words based around the same story, but that sort of original play is sort of only kind of a middle third, because you've got what happens before and this new ending of what happens afterwards. So I think it's important to release ourselves and not sort of attach yourself to the play. And it's just wonderful that as a background material you've got this kind of seminal, amazing piece of work to go back to. But I think we've got to be careful and very much treat this as a new, fresh project, and a new story, even more so, even just treat it as its own story rather than interpretation of something that's come before. Well, the plot is the story of Ophelia, and it is her entrance into the kingdom of Elsinore and her trying to navigate that environment and find her place within it. And then she becomes close. She becomes a handmaiden to Gertrude, and there's a motherly relationship there that was perhaps that has been lacking because of the death of her mother. And then she also finds the relationship and love of Hamlet, and it's about Ophelia trying to navigate an environment where there is a lot of betrayal and selfishness. And confusion and emotion, basically, and it's her trying to do right by those that she feels closest to and that she loves, and also do right by herself. So it's her navigating that environment. Grand, yeah. Well, Daisy's wicked. Daisy's wonderful. It's been a real pleasure to be working with her, and it's Daisy's very kind of. I think she's very, very strong and forthright, and what's lovely is that she loves to sort of to work in the doing. I find that I can get quite heady about things and overthink things, and I think that working with Daisy it's been wonderful to sort of find out whatever we're trying to suss out in that moment, rather than talking about it too much before. We have those conversations, we have those discussions, but ultimately it's to be found out in that moment. And I think there's a sort of pragmatism and a practicality about Daisy that is really exciting to work with and really immediate. So as an actress, it's been wonderful, and Daisy is she's lovely, so it's been wonderful. I mean, she's so lovely in herself, and obviously so experienced. It's been amazing to watch her, and her ability is just amazing. The first day sticks in my head. I think I was really Massimo, who's designed the costumes, has given us such incredible clothes to wear, and the sets that we've been working on have been so extraordinary that, and I've never sort of been part of a story that's set in this time, and I remember being quite overwhelmed on the first day. Just the scale and the detail combined, and then also the scale and detail of a very particular and very beautiful time in history, and our kind of interpretation of it as well, because we have a bit of poetic license with the story and the setting. It's really hard to navigate that story, and I think Claire's done an amazing and is doing an amazing job of that. But by the same token, to allow us to be navigating which stories she wants to tell, and also be allowing us the chance to vent and explore and mine whatever it is that our interpretation of our personal character and our personal element within that is really amazing. And she's just so giving with her time and energy in doing that.
Well, Ophelia Laertes and their father Polonius come from somewhat of a humble background, and as luck would have it, through opportunity, Ophelia gets taken in by the Queen to join the ladies in waiting. At the same time, her father is King Hamlet's scribe, so is somewhat more of an educated man, and Laertes definitely possesses some of the same desire to be scientific and poetic. Yeah, always growing up a Shakespeare fan. The unique thing about this story is this is a story that many people know so well, but told through the eyes of our heroine rather than our hero. So it has a real different perspective, not only from a lady's point of view, but from a very strong-willed one. We have a remarkably strong lady at the front of our boat. Yeah, Claire seems to be a fiercely passionate and strong, very eloquent leader, really. I think she's the perfect person to tell this story. There's such a great cast with this job that it makes it such a delight just to sit back and watch them perform half the time. And yeah, there isn't a single there isn't anyone, I don't think, that's really been perfectly cast for this. The Queen, our fabulous Miss Naomi Watts. Yes, equally soft, sweet, kind, and fiercely strong at the same time. Yeah, that seems to be a theme running through our lady cast and crew. Yeah, she's been a delight to work with. I'm hoping that one of the big things they take away is it brings Shakespeare to a whole new generation, or to maybe a whole world of people that hadn't seen it before. Not that we can call this Shakespeare per se, but it certainly is his world. So yeah, I'm hoping that it'll give people that already love the work a fresh perspective on it to love it even more, and the ones who aren't familiar with it, something to be excited about. I think that's something Claire and I talked about quite a lot, because it has this, obviously a period piece, and it feels very old and medieval, but also very current. I feel like the characters and the way that they talk with each other, the way they interact, could be considered to be, far from contemporary, but it has a lot of similarities with sort of some of the modern day world. So I think it's a very appetizing way of digesting Shakespeare's story. Yes, I mean, it's my first time to Prague, and quickly the reasons why were made apparent. The castles and the chateaus and the landscape of surrounding Prague is phenomenal. And again, going back to wearing the costume to help you sort of get into character, to be in these sort of ancient monasteries and it makes it remarkably easy and fun to sort of imagine yourself being in that time. And the studios and the sets are absolutely fantastic as well. We've got the Great Hall on the other side of this, where there is a 200-strong bloody battle about to take place. It's wonderful. Yeah, it's just bar it getting slightly hot at times. Yeah, the attention to detail is staggering, really. And again, it makes these sorts of big scenes a lot easier to make believable, I think.